Destruction energy. It's something I have worked very hard on. It is among the most powerful energy within my arsenal, the ability to make anything into nothing with a touch being more than just overpowered. It was then, in the past, that a question hit me: can I specifically only erase a certain intangible quantity? For instance, witches make use of lesser destruction energy to break down and mix certain components to create potions, but that's their limit. They can't erase certain quantities they can't touch or feel, for example, memories. The question had stuck in my mind for a long time. What if I can erase a certain memory? What if I can erase certain parts of a person's consciousness? The parts that make up a person, those being their own self, what if I can erase that and only keep the lifelike skills of the person? It's said that when a person has amnesia and forgets their sense of self, they only forget who they are. The skills, motor senses, abilities, and the basic question of how to live still stay within their mind, and this fascinated me. What if I can artificially create this situation using destruction energy? To have within my hands a person of full loyalty and skill but with no connections to their past? And I did act upon that idea. It took an extreme effort and the deaths of several prisoners on death row and an extreme level of criminals I caught. Their sacrifice was not in vain as I had finally created that spell. It's not easy to use and is very taxing. A small mishap from my side, and the person's brain would turn to mush. Basically, a brain-dead situation would arise. Plus, it tires me out, so I rarely use it on people that I want to work for me without any questions about their pasts. Done. With that, I swept away the sweat from my head while I massaged my forehead a bit. Taking a deep breath, I sat myself on the ground to gain some control back, lying down. Shira looked healthy and unhurt. With the help of the life energy, she looked as good as new, but her traits of corruption still stayed. Time to finish this. Thinking such, I quickly connected myself to Lala. Connection establishing. Target, Lala. Strength difference, huge. Time, 1 minute. And thus, the power level within me rose to the level of a god. With such backup energy within me, I quickly channeled my special energy, this time its power being beyond the norm. As I put my hand on Shira's head, the potent energy of corruption within Shira burst forth to take me down, fighting against the change I wanted to make. Yet with the pitiful backing of Origin level 10, the energy had to give up as I slowly started to cleanse Shira. Her body went back to normal, her skin turning bright, while the cracks on her started to turn into human skin. Thus, within seconds, she turned back to her normal human form, the symbol leaving her head. Now, that's good. It just took a few seconds for me to get this done. After this, I removed the connection, returning my power to the normal range. However, what is fascinating is the fact that Shira is still at Origin level 10 even after I took away the corruption energy. A point to note. And now, seeing that Shira has no adverse reaction, I thus pulled on my last plan. Farah. At my call, the stunning woman appeared in front of me, her eyes turning towards Shira as I gave her a nod. She knew what she had to do. Getting my approval, Farah pricked her skin, a drop of golden blood coming from her hand as I gave her a blood drop of mine. Soon, under Farah's great control, the golden blood of hers joined with Shira's body. A bright red light burst from within Shira as a red cocoon started to wrap around her body. Seeing this, I sat back on the ground, Farah not missing the chance as she sat on my lap, voluntarily moving forward and kissing my lips, taking a sip after which she lovingly placed her head on my shoulder. Looks like someone's growing up. I mused as I kept patting Farah's back. Thus 5 minutes passed after which cracks started to appear on the cocoon until it burst apart, bringing forth the new Shira. As Shira's transformation unfolded, the world seemed to hold its breath, captivated by the ethereal spectacle before it. From the cocoon of red energy, she emerged, reborn as a blood elven angel, her alabaster skin radiant in the soft, otherworldly glow that surrounded her. Her transformation had not only changed her essence but had also granted her an exquisite form that defied mortal comprehension. Her fiery red hair cascaded down her back like a molten waterfall, shimmering in the surreal light. It framed her delicate face, adorned with high cheekbones, a pert nose, and full, inviting lips. Her emerald green eyes, brimming with ancient wisdom, held a magnetic allure that drew all gazes toward her. Shira stood there, naked and unabashed, her body a symphony of curves and graceful lines. Her breasts, adorned with pert, rose-hued nipples, seemed to defy gravity, the embodiment of youthful vitality. A slender waist tapered to the swell of her hips, inviting wandering hands to explore the depths of her sensuality. Her long, sculpted legs were a testament to her angelic grace, extending into toned thighs that begged to be caressed. Every step she took was a sensual dance, a graceful ballet of seduction that left those who beheld her utterly captivated. The intricate tattoo-like patterns on her skin seemed to shimmer, their meaning known only to her and the celestial forces that had granted her this new existence. Each mark told a story of power, sensuality, and forbidden desires, while the blood-colored wings of her widened behind her. As Shira's presence enveloped the world, a potent aura of desire and longing radiated from her, a siren's call that ignited passion and lust in those who beheld her. She was a vision of unearthly beauty, an intoxicating blend of angelic purity and sinful temptation. At that moment, the world was enraptured, and the fires of desire burned hotter than ever before. Nice transformation, I remarked, gazing at the transformed Shira, and before her body could even land on the ground, the drop of my blood that Farah was holding in her hand quickly left her control and entered inside Shira's head, a red glow filling her once more as Shira's body landed on the ground. Her green eyes, in a daze, quickly formed information as she kneeled down on the ground. This slave meets her master. She spoke, her breasts shaking as she kneeled, her red nipples looking inviting as a gust rose from her wings closing, the raw power within her now at origin level 10, but right now, she was capable of an unseen level of strength and power, matching that of the blood elven angel. Her green eyes looked at the two of us with an extreme level of respect and love, her entire existence and desire being toward only me and Farah. For you see, as Farah is the primogenitor of her race, she is capable of creating her kind or converting others into her kind, an ability like her father's, and now I use that on Shira, making her a valuable prize. By adding my blood to her command mind, she will never be able to betray me, and her mind and body shall only exist to serve my needs. Even when Farah started converting her, she had programmed to make Shira's mind hold an extreme level of love, lust, desire, and respect towards the blood that would join with Shira. Guess she is picking up my tastes. I chuckled. After spending all this time within my body and seeing me with all those girls, it would seem Farah has taken it upon herself to make sure her creations will only have love and desire for me. Though then again, this is the first time she has used this ability of hers, for she refuses to take any trash into her species. And so I chose Shira as the past capture target. Her talent is very high, so she became the perfect subject for my experiment. Though having hot and sexy angel-looking blood girls only devoted and in love with me seems a bit too much, not that I am complaining. Right now, there is already a list of church-based women waiting to devour me, and now it would seem Farah is hell-bent on only taking women into her species, and she is sure to make it such that all her creations will only hold desire for me. I guess I brainwashed her too much. Musing at my thoughts, I looked at the now new and improved Shira as I commanded. From now onwards, your name shall be Zoe, and you shall live for me. It will be my honor. Zoe replied as she looked at me with love. In the end, what did you achieve? I didn't ask the question out loud as I kept looking at Zoe, those eyes of hate now filled with unending love and loyalty. There is absolutely no way that the past Shira will ever return. For, unlike amnesia, the memories that made Shira are already turned to nothing. In a way, Shira Hilklode is already dead, the one in front of me being different in both looks and mind. For now, just move towards this location and give them this. Stay there till I contact you again. I spoke as I gave a slip to Zoe who took it with respect, her body still naked as her boobs giggled. I provided her with a dress which she wore happily. Seeing so, with one final nod towards me, she disappeared from where she stood. She will be a very useful tool. Her strength of origin level 10 is extremely strong. With her current species, only a few people in the world will be able to connect with her on her own level. But then again, she still has to get used to her powers and abilities. Leaving my thoughts, I started to look around. The place was a mess, with destruction and death everywhere. With a wry smile, I connected to the special communication network created for this mission. With a single thought, a message went to my aunt, and a second later, I soon appeared back in the very room I left. All eyes focused on me, but seeing me fine despite the loss of Shira, the story soon became clear for all. Trigon's eyes started to shake, seemingly hinting at screaming, but I paid no heed to it as I turned towards Mira. My feelings were completely filled with guilt, sadness, and disgust towards myself, which quickly earned me a hug from Mira. It's fine. She whispered as she lightly patted my hair, my head resting on her chest. My feelings soon turned to happiness, calm, and a whole lot of love, which paused Myra's hand for a moment, after which she continued to pat my head. This went on for a few seconds until I lifted my head from Myra's head, a wry smile filling my face as I spoke. I'm fine, Aunt, just a bit down. My reply earned me another pat from her as she spoke. Don't let it weigh you down too much. She was not worth it. I nodded my head at her words, a cheeky smile filling my face as I spoke. Aunt, you somehow always know what to say. It's as if you can read my mind. My words earned me a pause from Mira, who just went with the flow, not revealing the truth for now. Big mistake. As I thought so, Arya directly jumped into my body, and I hugged her back, her head lovingly rubbing on my chest. She looked at me with those pure green orbs and asked. Did I do good, Daddy? You did well, my princess. I replied with an indulging smile as I planted a kiss on Arya's forehead. I also made sure to make Arya turn all the ones in the room unconscious, for things I later discuss cannot be heard by an outside ear. My action earned me a giggle from her. Hence, the next few moments were spent with me playing around with Arya until the door to the room swung open, breaking the silence with a creak that sent a shiver down my spine. In walked the Avengers, the very people who had orchestrated this act of retribution. First to enter was my mother, Grace, a woman whose allure and strength never ceased to captivate me. Her blonde hair cascaded down her shoulders like a golden waterfall, and her green eyes blazed with a fierce determination. She strode into the room, a sword clutched in her hand, its steel glinting ominously in the dim light. She moved with an alluring grace that left no doubt about her capabilities, and her presence exuded a sensual energy that was impossible to ignore. Following her was my sister, Nora, a beauty with a ponytail that accentuated her elegant features. Her blonde hair framed her face perfectly, and her green eyes held a hint of mischief that contrasted with the gravity of the situation. She moved with a subtle, almost feline grace, and there was an air of sensuality about her that hinted at hidden depths. Ralph and Athena entered the room together, their expressions a mix of relief and grim satisfaction. Ralph, with his rugged charm and strong physique, gave off an aura of primal masculinity. His eyes, filled with a mixture of determination and satisfaction, met mine briefly before he nodded in acknowledgement. Athena, with her striking beauty and fiery spirit, radiated a raw sensuality that was impossible to ignore. Her eyes sparkled with a fierce determination, and her presence was a potent blend of allure and strength. Together, they made for an imposing sight. The room seemed to come alive with their entrance, their collective energy crackling in the air. The sensual vibe that hung about them was undeniable, a reflection of the complex emotions that had brought them here. Looks like you all had fun. I spoke, which made all of them smile. I haven't done something like this in a long time. Athena replied as her eyes soon focused on the cute doll-like Arya on my lap. Her eyes sparkled as she came closer. Now, who is this cutie? I didn't know my little brother had a daughter. As she said this, she tried to pinch Aira's cheeks, but sadly for Athena, she froze in place before even touching Arya. Athena's eyes soon trembled as she kept looking at Arya, which earned a wry smile from me. She is a complex story. I spoke as I made Arya let go of Athena, who was now wary and looked at Arya with an extra layer of caution. So, are all of them? My mother suddenly asked, breaking through the awkward situation in the room. Yes. I replied, to which Nora asked. Then where is that girl? Dead. I replied, not looking at Nora, my voice a bit low, which everyone picked up on. Don't feel sorry for these monsters, my son. Son. Grace, my mother, spoke. I just feel dirty. I replied as I hugged Arya a bit tighter. She just loved my attention. Seeing my mood, no one else tried to bring it up. It was then that Mira took the lead, her eyes turning towards Ralph and Athena, who both gave a nod of respect towards Mira. Before we dive into anything else, we need to first decide what we should do about the crack. Her words brought surprise to all as Ralph asked. Crack? Seeing his confusion, Mira soon filled everyone in on what she had discovered. Her words brought a somber atmosphere into the room, as things had now opened up to a very bad scale. Austin says he can close the gap, but he isn't sure how it might fully affect him. As Mira finished her words, the attention came back to me once again, so I started to explain. As you all know, my special bloodline gives me the special powers to deal with corruption energy, and I can feel that I can close the crack. My words of confirmation only brought a great surprise to everyone here. The prospect of a person capable of closing the crack was now bringing forth a great deal to the world. Making it such that perhaps one day I shall be able to close that big crack which grows like a danger every day to this world. How bad will you be affected? With my current powers, I won't be able to close even this minuscule crack. But if I am to take the power provided by Arya, I shall be able to close it without problems. But the issue will be the War Council. Mira completed my words, and Ralph's attention was captured. If you are to reveal this skill of yours, it will tempt the War Council in an unseen way before. Even worse, those powers in the dark will try much harder to kill Austin. At Grace's words, the atmosphere turned worse, to which I spoke. That is why we need to play the script well. My words made everyone intrigued as they focused on me. A smile came to my face as I spoke. With the help of Arya, I will be fine, but we can make it such that after I close this, I shall end up in a life-or-death situation in front of the eyes of the world. As I stopped here, I could see the smile that I had begun to appear on the faces of the rest. All of them were smart enough to understand where I was heading, and as such, Mira finished my words. You can say that I provided you the energy, and if the prospect of you almost dying and going into a coma takes place, the interest from others will waver. Even the dark side won't pay much attention to you. Bingo. I said as I caught Arya's hands and started to clap. The sly-like smiles on my family and friends increased beautifully as Grace spoke. But we can't do this without a concrete way. We need to make it such that even if Austin is looked at by the healers of the War Council, they won't be able to understand anything more than we show them. I have got that covered. I said, my words easing the main problem as I continued. But the success fully lies on Aunt Mira, for I will need Aunt Mira to bring out her powers and threaten to only keep me with her, where I shall only be healed by people hired by her. My answer got an understanding nod, for I need to be free, and only when I am within Mira's protection can I move around as I feel, even though I will be in a coma. The plans are all good, but are you sure nothing bad will happen to you? Grace asked in a serious voice, to which I replied with one. I am sure. This made everyone look at each other until they agreed to the proposition. This brought my eyes to Mira. This will be a very fun coma. With all in agreement, I can start, right? I asked, my words earning their nods, yet a presence of unease still lay within all of them. Not having the mind to deal with that now, I turned towards Mira, a nod leaving me to which Mira just nudged me away with Arya. The two of us quickly appeared in a closed basement, the raw corruption energy here being disgusting and huge. I hate this place, Daddy, Arya spoke as her nose wrinkled along with her eyes. To this, I patted Arya's head, my eyes moving toward the minuscule crack in the air, floating in the middle of the room. The corruption energy that should be unseen now in the open and clear eyes as dangerous red tendrils-like energy kept escaping from the crack, its size barely being equivalent to a pinky finger, yet the consequences of its power were devastating to the world. Now you just pretend to pass your power to me while you place your hand on me, got it? I spoke, to which Arya lovingly nodded her head. Thus, I walked toward the crack as I gazed at it. Its figure is similar to that of a broken mirror, forming a portal, yet I am unable to gaze to the other side. A red screen-like covering taking over the other side. Now it's all or nothing. Musing to myself, I activated the connection, this time bonding myself to Orpheus, thus granting me about 30 seconds of power enough to destroy worlds. Arya placed her hand on my back and pretended to pass on energy to me while my finger touched the crack, the bloodline energy of mine lashing from within me as it covered both of me and Arya completely. Completely. A disgusting feeling filled my head as I touched the crack, something deep within my blood and body both fearing and hating this crack. And under such, I got hold of my energy and pushed it towards the crack. But the moment my energy met the crack, the world froze around me. What is it now? This is bad. No sooner had the system's words ended, a pressure like never before fell upon me, even me with my current level of power being helpless as my knees buckled. Then it came, the feeling of death, the world around me twisted as I seemed to enter a white room, my knees still on the floor. What is this? My mind turned a bit sluggish as two sets of pairs of eyes suddenly opened up above me. Even looking at them, I could only tell they were eyes from their shape, the size of the eyes, their presence of any other detail being blurred from my eyes. And for the first time in a long time, I knew my death was near, even with my immortality of life. These beings, whatever they are capable of taking away my gifts and killing me off. So is this how it ends? It would seem after all of my trials and hard work, this is how I will die. The pressure around me soon started to get higher, and the eyes focused on me like never before, the feeling of death started to get closer and closer to me, until... Plus 100 affection. Plus 100 affection. Plus 100 affection. What the heck happened? You tell me. Seeing the rising affection of those two eyes towards me, my mind stopped for a moment. Even the system seemed more confused than me, but the good thing that happened was that the pressure holding me down disappeared as I found myself back in my position, the crack in front of me now closed, the entire corruption energy here now gone, with Arya still clutching me. Yet even with all this, my mind still stayed in a daze. What the heck was that? Do I have some sort of special power that seems to make beings of extreme power suddenly form an affection for me? Perhaps I am really dead back in my world and I am still going through a lucid dream at the end of my life? Maybe I am brain dead and trapped in an illusion? It's none of that, and you know it. The system suddenly interrupted my thoughts, and within that time, my family and friends appeared in the room, their worried eyes on me. But seeing that I was fine, they all smiled. Suddenly, my brain had to deal with a lot of things which led me to close my eyes for a moment. I will deal with you later. Giving my warning to the system, I focused back on my family, my smile finding myself at the hug of my mother in her bountiful bosom, her hand patting my head as she spoke. Thank God, I was worried. I just smiled at her words, not even going to say the fact that I was near the step of death a few seconds ago. Though this once again reminds me of how much I have adapted to this world. In my moments of close death, the only thing that kept passing through my mind was how my death would affect all those girls in love with me. The thought of how my family would definitely break again kept resounding in my mind. I am more than sure that Clara will definitely follow me in death, and perhaps most of my lovers might even go crazy, and something bad will definitely cover the world. It is within this recollection of mine that Orpheus's voice filled my mind. Son. Are you alright? Mother? I asked back. Don't you worry a bit, your mommy will deal with this. For a moment, I thought I lost you. This was the first time I ever heard such raw emotions of fear and passion in Orpheus's words. And this once again showed me that whoever I faced was no easy foe. I'm sure that Orpheus is yearning to just take me away but is holding back for some reason. Son, don't worry, nothing like this will happen again. With such words, my connection to Orpheus was cut as Grace asked me in a worried voice. Son, are you okay? I'm fine. I responded, a smile gracing my face as I placed a kiss on Grace's cheeks. My action earned a smile from her as I looked at the group here, my eyes meeting all of them as I spoke. Shall we start the play? Third-person POV. The world soon entered another level of shock and surprise, the news of the fall of the Hillclode family making its way into the depths of every power, the information of their slavery and misuse of different types of species shocking the core of people related to the Hillclode family. The waves of despair filled the surroundings of the Rockville Kingdom. While only the news of slavery use filled the common populace, the true powerhouses of the world understood the inner depths of the sin of the Hillclode family, their name now forever etched as one of the biggest betrayals to the world. As the news of their connection to corruption energy and their practices hit the news. Within minutes, powerful people across the world, belonging to different powerful places, gathered within the halls of Hillclode. The main bargaining being done by the War Council as the sins of the Hillclode family were enough to shake both the realms. Though once a clear picture started to form of the sins of the family, deep surprise and disbelief started to fill everyone. The more evidence all of the powers read, the more chilling the case and situation became. The pills, the babies, the chimeras, the connection to corruption energy, the inscriptions on everyone, and finally, the most dangerous part, the crack, this made everyone reevaluate the threat covering all over the world. But their surprise of everyone only deepened when they learned about the closing of the crack, being the powers they are, they did their own research and calculations to arrive at their own deductions which only furthered to birth the greed in everyone's heart. The prospect of closing the crack brings a new light of hope within the hearts of the people. But that was dashed as soon as the figure of Austin was revealed just to the few trustworthy powerful people of the War Council. The look of Austin being in a near-death state, with his survival barely hanging by a thread with the help of innumerable healing spells, made everyone understand that the idea of claiming the huge crack threatening the world is close to nil. This happened because he didn't have enough energy. Mira spoke with surprised rage and sadness, her hands lovingly patting Austin's face as the others watched on, the mana in the entire place trembling at the anger of Mira as one of the spokespersons spoke. If he is to get stronger, will it help? To this, the reddened eyes of Mira seen through the veil focused on the man, the mana around getting tighter as she spoke her words with clear meaning. He is almost half dead even with taking in my energy. Do you have any other questions? The maddened glare of Mira reminded the other people to take a back step as another person spoke. Then we will take him to the Saintess of Life. This boy is the future of the world, and we can't lose him. It's already done. I will be taking him to the Saintess and keeping him under my watch. The roughness in Myra's voice left no question as she left with her nephew, her back looking quite weak and down. I guess the lying genes are inherited. Chuckling at my thoughts, I leaned into the comfy chair as I drank my juice, enjoying a relaxing feel as the world outside trembled with the shocking news filling it. Right now, it's been about 3 hours since the incident, and my aunt's stunning play at the People of Power. Gotta say, I was quite impressed with how she had handled it. Guess the fact of being good with acting being a requirement to survive in power is the same everywhere. Anyhow, after the heart-moving scene by my aunt, I was moved to her central area deep within the top position of the Mag's Tower in Babylon City. Me being only under the protection of Mira in a place where she has total control, thus granting me safe recovery and giving me safety, at least that is the public reason. After the incident, Ralph's people quickly cleaned up the scene to make the place better. Of course, we didn't go forth to hide the involvement of my family. After all, I was there, and there is the fact that these powerful organizations would have their own way of finding things out if they truly wanted to. Such an action did earn us the ire of the rest of the powers for not bringing this issue directly to them. But the power of my family and the backing of Myra's and mine kept them at bay from going overboard with their words, for we had genuine reasons for our actions. The proof of the Hillclode family scheming to harm the Lionheart family was more than enough reason for my family to take action. And no one wanted to piss off my family and the powers backing me and my aunt. Thus, after some light wording, we were left off the hook. After all, in the end, we did bring a sin to light. This also came to our rescue to turn our family into saviors. Heck, in the eyes of the public, the image of my family has improved 100 times better. At least the first of my aims is done. With this, the prestige of my family has risen in a humongous manner. My mother will gain more powers and backing both in the outside world and the academy. My sister, having participated in something like this, will gain a big name. This will be very useful when she takes control of the duchy. And even Mira gained a lot of fame and power in the War Council while my family's name is on everyone's lips, hailing us with great fervor, making the powerful position of the Lionheart family perfect. Of course, this can't just simply happen, but with the backing of the resources I have in my hand, it became as simple as breathing to pass over information all over the world in a short amount of time. Leaking a sigh, I enjoyed the comfort of the juice and the chair as I closed my eyes, the feeling of death that filled me before still playing in my mind. But I didn't dwell on it for long as I took a deep breath, my mind turning serene as I started to calm myself down. Finally, when I have regained my sense of peace, I spoke. System, show it. At my command, a screen appeared in front of me with the information that I had been looking for. Title: Some Truths of the World. First truth: the true world of Ether is larger than the current one, for the true world of Ether was divided into 2 parts. Second truth: there exists 4 creation goddesses, with each pair covering over each world. Third truth: the war thousands of years ago actually started millions of years ago and just ended thousands of years ago. The true war took place between the pairs of goddesses, each fighting against the other due to their belief in the ruining of the world. Fourth truth: the war was won by the goddess Sylvia and Sylvie, yet it wasn't perfect, and the war isn't truly over. Fifth truth: there still exist even more powerful species and powers in the realms, but they're within the other realm. Sigh, this just got shittier. A frown filled my face as I took in the details. The answers just raised more questions in my mind, like what's this difference in opinion these two had? What is the secret fight going on in here? What kind of secrets are hidden more? But these do answer a lot that has been bugging me. My eyes closed as I started to play the information in my mind, all the new information filling in some blank spaces in the doubts that have been plaguing me for some time. For now, I understand what kind of hell is lying on the other side of corruption energy. So these eyes I met today belonged to the other 2 creation goddesses? I asked the system, but no response came, and the silence itself became the answer I needed to confirm my suspicion, for only the 2 gods at the level of creation would be able to completely suppress the power level I had of Orpheus. And the information I had before was wrong. The knowledge that the war thousands of years ago was because of some difference between Sylvia and Sylvie is just pure ludicrous. And what's more, it would seem that lots of information about this world has been removed from memory. My best guess is that the gods themselves sealed off the true information, cutting off the true history of the past. No wonder there is such a huge hole in the middle of history. Having crammed in a lot of things about the past to get better with Celestinia, I can now deeply feel the loss of true history and the path of this world. It's as if someone had entered a moving and flowing line and removed a huge chunk from the middle of this flowing line. But why? Why seal off all this great knowledge and species? It's the part that I can't understand. What is the end game here? What really led to such a great world falling into this? For you see, I have already felt it, this world is stuck between extreme levels of the future and the past, seemingly stuck at a past they can't seem to put together. Even the information we are collecting from the past are crumbs laid down by the gods to confuse us. This thought only made me frown more, the so-called apathy of the gods towards the world somehow now coming to make a bit of sense. What if it is that they aren't paying attention to the world ending, but the fact that they can't do anything about it? What if there is a delicate promise between those of power to not interfere? What if my goals of getting these girls aren't just attached to the prospect of some pervert's idea? All these thoughts just kept leading to more questions. Now I have the gist of it, the current me upgrading from a pawn to a bishop. Yet I have to reach the end of this tangled web of the past, and just as I was drowning in these thoughts, the system spoke, or it would be more accurate to say the system commanded. World Quest 2. Description: a war that led to the death of millions, the loss of life, the falls of gods, demigods, primal creators, and more. Why did something like this happen? What could have led to the knowledge of the past being erased and rewritten? What could have led to a top-tier world like Ether being split into two? Find out the truth of what happened from the mouth of the goddess Sylvie, one among the two who are capable of telling you the truth. To do so, you must fulfill her wish and get rid of the darkness living in her heart, to help her move forward from the guilt and past holding her back. To do this, you must raise her affection for you to 200% and have her make you her proxy. Reward: you shall learn all the truth of the world from her. You shall get to ask one question to me about any answer you desire. Penalty: no penalty, it is your choice, not mine. You really know how to make me do things. I shook my head at the quest in front of me. For now, I just kept it at the back of my mind as my eyes focused on Mira entering the room. For now, I would just focus on this beautiful aunt of mine, to do the very thing I was brought here for. Previous index next. User com. What are you looking at? Mira asked as she saw me looking at her with a smile. Nothing, just enjoying the beauty of my aunt, I replied with a smile that made Mira snort. She was already getting used to these sudden attacks of mine, such that now she could easily shrug off these words, at least that's how it seemed on the outside. But I know that on the inside, she is quite happy with these words of mine. However, then again, there is the twisted fact that my love for her is decreasing. After the revelation of me seeing another girl, the story depicting Sonia, there seems to be some sort of awkwardness around her. As if she herself can't come to terms with what is happening to her. For now, I have let her stew in her thoughts enough. By now, she must have come to understand everything about the feelings in her, and now it's time I rake in the date debt I have so closely kept at hand. Aunt, so you are free for the week, right? I asked with a smile, my words simple without any actual focus on the question, to which Mira nodded her head. She took a seat before me as she spoke while rubbing her head a bit. Thanks to you, I have nothing to do the following week. Hearing her words, the desire in me flew towards her, this expression of my feeling bringing a twitching at her eyebrows as I asked, then how about I take you on the date that we have yet to go on? My words made Mira's lips twitch. Back then, weeks ago, after revealing my budding romance with Sonia, I had already taken from her a date, and even now, I have yet to fulfill my part of that date. For one, Mira was very busy, and I myself didn't go to meet Mira as I too fell into some work and didn't want the special date I had for Mira to just become something mundane. A/N, the true reason? Cough, the author forgot about it. The things I want to happen can only happen if I can take my time, to have Mira's full focus on me. Only then can I finally break through the layers in her heart, and this situation has just gifted me the perfect opportunity that I need. Then what about this girl you are starting to like? Sonia, was it? Her words brought a surprised expression to my face, while on the inside? Got you. I was more than sure that after I explained my story of meeting Sonia, Mira would definitely look into this, to try and find out more about this girl going after her dear loving nephew. Well, I am sure that is the excuse she used to research back into the life I had inside the Babylon Academy, and for her, I already laid all the crumbs she needed to follow. For you see, I didn't just go through such a rough route for Sonia to just get her heart. No, I also needed her to conquer Mira. The time and story between us, to the eyes of Mira, will be a sweet and nice story of me falling for a tired yet powerful girl unwilling to give up. But if one were to dig in deeper, the greatest thing that would connect me and Sonia would be our unrequited love. I am 100% sure that after Mira finds Sonia, she will definitely look into the past of the girl, where she will find the history of the love that Sonia once held for Leonardo. The sad story of the girl trying to get the love of another yet not getting it, deeply resounding with me. Thus, granting a layer of certain guilt and anger within Mira's heart. The very reason that I got attached quickly to Sonia is due to Mira. Not very logical, but a jealous woman budding in love rarely gets filled with perfect rationality. And thus, this brings a certain pressure on Mira. The connection forming between me and Sonia in the eyes of an unbiased viewer will be a beautiful yet touching story. Two broken hearts meet each other and heal each other until they finally find true love. Isn't that beautiful? But to the eyes of Mira, all she will be seeing is me going away. But the hardest part for her will be my feelings. Ever since my confession of another girl to Mira, I have slowly lowered the feelings of love from me towards Mira. Not by a huge amount, just minuscule. But to someone with great perception like Mira, it will be as clear as day. Right now, sitting here in front of Mira, my feelings are split in two. A trench of feelings fighting between Mira and Sonia. Those confusing emotions easily flowed from me toward Mira, but what stayed most clear within these emotions was my conviction. A certain feeling that perhaps it was time I finally settled my feelings. Oh, how did you know? I asked, finally getting out of my surprise, which earned me a guilty side eye from Mira, her voice soft as she spoke. Well, I can't just let your heart go to any girl, can I? I had to make sure my favorite nephew is not getting in any trouble. I see. This response of mine was downcast, a feeling of disappointment from me flowing towards Mira. Along with it, my conviction grew, seemingly having finally made the choice to let go of what I have been holding within me for years. The combination of both of these brought Mira's eyes towards me. I did not miss the sudden tremble of her eyes. For a moment, the atmosphere in the room got heavier. I leaned against the chair as I closed my eyes, taking deep breaths as Mira began to speak. Austin. Just give me a moment, I replied, making Mira silent. The silence lasted for 5 seconds, after which I opened my eyes. They focused on Mira as my expression turned serious. A week, Aunt. I want a loving week with you, I spoke, my words bringing a conflicted expression across Mira's face. But this wasn't due to spending a loving week with me. No, this was due to her fear of what would happen after the weekends. My conviction was clear to her as she spoke. What about your girlfriend? She isn't my girlfriend yet. I replied, keeping my focus on her as I continued. The two of us share a common past, and I refuse to break her heart. For I know how it feels. Austin. Mira called out with a pained look, but I held my hand up, wanting to complete my words. I don't blame you, Aunt. I have already told this to you. I know the relationship between us won't work, but feelings can't just be turned on and off, can they? At my words, Mira bit her lips. So I want this week, a week where I can fulfill my dream of being with you. Even if it is just an illusion, and after this, we will go back to being the loving aunt and nephew that you and I want to be. My words, if heard by an unbiased person, would scoff at it. Playing lovers for a week and then be back to normal? Yeah, that's just nonsense, especially after I just spoke about how feelings can't be turned on and off as one likes. In fact, if Mira were to sit calmly and think it through, she would come to understand how bad the idea of us spending a week together would be. But her current state wouldn't be able to reject it. All the feelings, her mixed emotions, her jealousy, my pain, and her confusion, all of this is filling her mind. And worst of all, I am looking at her with hopeful eyes. And what will truly drive her will be her own emotions, to fully understand everything she is feeling. My conviction of letting go of my feelings will push her to make her own conviction of perhaps ending her feelings for me after this week. Thus, a tense atmosphere formed in the room as I kept looking at Mira. Her expression changed a lot until she finally took on a convinced look on her face. All right, she spoke, and a smile filled my face. Hook, line, and sinker. So what do we do now? Mira asked, her voice resigned as she leaned into her chair. Now you leave it all to me. I spoke with a smile, my emotions fully mixed, which went smoothly towards Mira whose lips just kept twitching as she lay in the chair. Where are we heading to? Mira asked as she sat with her eyes blindfolded. To this I replied. To a place that no one shall disturb us, and as promised, during the coming week you are immortal, you can't use any of your powers. Saying so, a portal to the fairy world opened in front of the carriage as Mira fell asleep beside me. The carriage soon entered the fairy world, it being empty of Orpheus's presence as several fairies soon gathered around the carriage, the beautiful world coming into my view as I got out of the carriage and asked. Is everything set? Veronica set everything well. The cute little fairy Veronica shouted as she landed on my head. Good. I replied with a smile. Just where are we? Mira asked with a widened gaze as she kept looking around, the beauty and purity of this place making Mira crazy as she kept looking around. This is the place that will be our home for the next week, a place of only two of us, and as per the deal you can't ask any questions, you can only go with my flow. My words shut Mira's mouth as she turned towards the beautifully built wooden cabin, the very place we would be staying for a week. Third-person POV. Under the enchanting canopy of ancient trees, their leaves seemed to shimmer with a life of their own, as if they were bearing witness to the beginning of something magical. Austin had meticulously chosen this hidden grove for their first date, knowing it held the power to kindle the sparks of love. Moreover, this place has its secret special effect that his aunt will only learn later. Mira's heart fluttered as she followed Austin through the winding path that led to their picnic spot. The forest around them was alive with whispers of secrets and ancient tales, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was stepping into a world of wonder. As they reached a small clearing, a cozy patch of emerald grass beneath a colossal oak, Mira gasped in glee. The trees had intertwined their branches above, creating a natural cathedral of leaves that filtered the sunlight into a warm, dappled dance of shadows. Austin spread a vibrant, hand-woven blanket over the grass and set a wicker basket in the center. The anticipation in his eyes mirrored her own, but he hid it behind a warm smile. Welcome to our little piece of paradise, he said, his voice gentle as the breeze rustling through the leaves. I hope you like it. Mira couldn't help but smile in return. It's incredible, Austin. How did you find this place? It's a really beautiful place. She spoke, to which he gave a smile as he responded. I found this place during one of my travels and I had mapped it out secretly to one day bring you to his place. His feelings of sincerity and love flowed towards Mira as he held out his hand, inviting her to sit. She gracefully lowered herself onto the blanket, her eyes flashing with certain complex feelings of happiness and bitterness, the pure feelings from her nephew just making her heart hurt and beat, the emerald hues of her gown echoing the lush grass beneath them. Austin joined her, and their eyes locked for a fleeting moment, a silent promise of what the day held. The wicker basket yielded a treasure trove of delights, ripe, succulent fruits that glistened like jewels under the dappled sunlight, chocolates wrapped in delicate foil, and a chilled bottle of her favorite sparkling Trixie cider. Austin poured them each a glass, the effervescent liquid bubbling over the brim with excitement. Mira couldn't help but chuckle at the sight. You've thought of everything, haven't you? Austin's gaze met hers, filled with an intensity that sent a shiver down her spine. Only the best for you, Mira. As they indulged in the fruits and chocolates, conversation flowed effortlessly. They shared stories of their pasts, childhood memories, and dreams that had been tucked away like hidden treasures. Austin listened with rapt attention, his deep purple eyes locking onto hers as if she held the key to a long-lost world. Mira, too, found herself drawn to his words, to the cadence of his voice, and the sincerity in his laughter. It was as if they were painting the canvas of their lives together with every word exchanged, each anecdote and shared aspiration a vibrant stroke of color. It didn't help with the fact that Mira felt like they were the only two people in the world, the place doing its special magic. Time seemed to blur in the magical grove. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm, golden hue over everything, Austin reached into the basket and produced a small, ornate box. He held it out to her with a soft smile. "For you," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Mira accepted the box, her fingers trembling with anticipation from the feelings provided by Austin. She opened it to reveal a delicate, silver necklace, adorned with a pendant that resembled a heart-shaped leaf, its surface etched with intricate patterns that glinted in the soft light. "It's beautiful," she breathed, her eyes shimmering. Mira didn't want to take it, not after everything that her nephew gave her, but he had made her promise to go with his complete flow till the end of the week, a final gift from her to him. Austin reached out and gently fastened the necklace around her neck, his fingers brushing against her skin in a way that sent electric currents through her veins. As his hand lingered near her collarbone, their eyes locked, and in that moment, the world around them seemed to fade into insignificance. The day wore on, and the sun began its descent below the horizon. A soft breeze rustled through the leaves, casting a cascade of golden foliage around them as if nature itself were blessing their connection. Austin extended his hand, palm up, toward Mira. She looked at it, her heart pounding, and then, without hesitation, placed her own hand in his. It was a simple gesture, yet it carried the weight of unspoken promises and emotions that had long simmered beneath the surface. Their fingers interlocked, and Austin drew her closer, their faces mere inches apart. He whispered, "Mira," his voice low and tender, which sent currents through Mira's body, having Austin called by her own name, making her feel a certain ache within her body, and then, he reached into the basket once more and retrieved a small leather-bound book with an ornate, antique cover. "Before I forget," Austin said, his voice still carrying the warmth of their attraction, "I have something else for you, something I think you'll truly appreciate." Mira's curiosity was piqued as she accepted the book. Its pages were filled with beautiful illustrations of various spell specimens, along with meticulous notes in elegant script. It was a mage's dream, and she couldn't help but gasp in astonishment. "Where did you get this?" she exclaimed, her fingers tracing the delicate artwork. "Artwork? This is rare, like an ancient mage journal, Austin. How did you?" He chuckled, a hint of pride in his expression. "Have you forgotten who calls me daddy? Just some spoiling, and she wrote all this for me. I just made some extra touches to make the book look ancient." Mira's heart swelled with emotion. It was as if he had delved into the deepest corners of her soul and plucked out her most cherished desire. She closed the book gently, her eyes meeting his with an intensity that matched the connection they were forging. "You have a way of surprising me, Austin," she said, her voice soft and filled with wonder. "You know me better than anyone ever has." Austin's smile was tender as he brushed a strand of hair away from her face. "That's because I've spent every moment with you, even before this week. I've watched you, listened to you, and learned what makes your heart sing. And I want to continue doing that for the rest of our lives." Their fingers entwined once more, sealing their connection, and Mira's heart filled with too much sweet connection to let go. The day wore on, and the sun, now a fiery orb on the horizon, cast a warm, orange glow over the enchanted grove. It was as if the very world conspired to embrace their budding feelings. As they lay side by side on the blanket, their hands nestled together, Austin pointed to a gap in the tree branches above. Through it, the first stars of twilight began to twinkle like distant diamonds. "Mira," he murmured, his voice soft as a whisper of wind, "look up." She followed his gaze and was met with a breathtaking sight. Above them, the night sky was painted with a canvas of stars. Austin had arranged for a celestial display, a constellation that resembled a heart, shining brightly in the firmament. "It's our star," he said, his voice filled with a sense of wonder. Mira felt her heart swell for the man beside her. In Austin, she found someone who understood her in a way no one else ever had. As the first fireflies of the evening emerged, their tiny lights blinking like enchanted lanterns, Austin and Mira lay together beneath the canopy of ancient trees. In that enchanted grove, surrounded by the secrets of the forest and the boundless affection they held for each other. While Mira marveled at her heart, feeling several changes to her, Austin looked at the sky with a smile, his eyes traveling towards the invisible fairies all around. Once he taught the duties they have to uphold, the very cuties slowly powering the magic circle below the ground, now producing specific intent, enough to make this situation more surreal. "This is just the beginning, my lovely aunt. By the end of this, you will be begging to have me." Previous index next.